Alright guys, so now we are back with a showdown between the dinosaurs who shall be led by Lizard Moses and the Skaven who shall be helmed by Ikit Claw. So on that note guys, let's jump right into this match and see if Lizard Moses can part the great rat sea over here. Should be fun. So as far as the build goes, we're of course going to be going with Ten and Juan, or let's actually go ahead and take a look at his name and do some theory crafting. So Tehen and Juan, Tehen and Win, Tehen and Juan, Teeny Weeny. That is what we're going to call him, Teeny Weeny. I think Lizard Moses, but yeah, Ten and Juan is how we were saying it at Everchosen. But if any of you guys have any insight on that, please let me know. I mean, I'm trying to think of it phonetically here. Tehen and Win. I'm so done. Screw this. Oh man. All right. So we're just going to call him Lizard Moses or Ten and Juan for now, which should be fun. So in the front line, we're actually going to be trying out the new red crested skinks. Now, I don't know if they're going to be super optimal against Skaven because yes, they're a great weapon unit. Skaven usually have chaff. So the other skinks might be a little bit more cost effective for 300 gold. They have shields, obviously a little bit more durable than the red crested skinks, but what's really cool about these guys is obviously they have pretty good offensive stats, 35 melee attack, 26 weapon strength, good AP, poison. That's going to be so good in the metagame, and just the grand scope of things, being able to just apply poison in the front line in pretty much every matchup, even if you don't need AP, kind of justifies at least having a couple. So we have the red crested skinks here. They do of course have frenzy, and it looks like they're also immune to psychology, of course, during the duration of the frenzy, I would imagine. I have a feeling once that wears off, they're not going to be so immune. We do also have the cohort of Sotek, which is the regiment renowned of the red crested skinks, and these guys are pretty cool. They do have this ability called Refuse to Die, so basically whenever you activate this, the models can still lose HP, but they don't lose models. So if they're getting around half health or 40%, and to the point where they still have a high model count, but they're obviously very beat up, that's a really good time to pop Refuse to Die. Sometimes I just pop it right away just to make sure I use it, but even still, they're also unbreakable, which is pretty good for anchoring that front line. So the whole front line is going to be red crested skinks and the regiment of Renown. We do also have two skink cohorts on the flanks to get around and pressure the guns, because Skaven, yes, it's just like Vampire Coast. They have a pretty scary back line now. They have Rattling Gunners, and they also have Jezzails being extremely beastly units, so you need to take those guys out. But basically I was like, all right, he's going to have Jezzails, he's going to have guns. Dav is a pretty savvy dude, so let's just get in there and just blitz. I know we're going to have some big targets for him, but let's have a target overload. It's much like if you're playing Warhammer 40,000, you just want to oversaturate targets. So even if they bring anti-heavy, you just bring more heavy. And then from there, you can kind of have, too many big targets for them to take down. So that's the plan. Ten and Juan is going to be on foot here. I think, yeah, he's going to be on foot with his tablet here with all of his commandments. Thou shalt kill Skaven. And he's just going to be bringing the Manticore Summon because I wanted to bring the Croak. So we have the Croak. The Croak man is here. He is pissed. He is dead. And he's going to be dropping the Deliverance of Itza, which is going to be pretty good. So Deliverance of Itza, for anyone who hasn't seen it, he has a couple tiers. He has 1, 2, and 3. Each just does more damage and better against armor, basically. So we're going to be trying to bombard some Skaven and summon Manticores with Ten and Juan, who is very powerful. Ten and Juan also has an ability to give all nearby troops poison, which is very, very good. So we're going to be using that. So that's a whole army, a couple Crocsagores as well, going to be getting their spanking paddles. And I figured the Crocsagores have good mass. Let's get them. Let's push through and see if we can get into the back line. On top of that, we do have the Pahawk Sentinels over here, and they're going to be just dropping some boulders and throwing some poison spears. They have Vanguard, of course, so I was able to get a little bit sneaky. I'm just going to try and drop some rocks on top of his artillery or other troops like that. Very much like what you saw Falcon do against Indie Pride in the Everchosen. We have a couple of Chameleons as well who have been rooted out. Dav Place had a pretty solid Vanguard here, so you can see the Night Runners. Yeah, things are getting pretty wild already. So for the forces of Dav and the Skaven, he does have 3 groups of the Night Runners. Decent little skirmish unit, and also if they fall back and get behind the main line, he can use them as a bit of a deterrent against Pahawks, Sentinels, and other flying units. So a pretty solid pick right there. And for the main line of Dav plays, he does have a bunch of Skaven slaves, which is pretty much standard, and of course he has troops in reserve, so he has clan rats in the secondary line, who he will be pulling in. He's got Ikit Claw in the Doom Wheel, which seems to be one of the more popular mounts. The Doom Flare is very good, but this Doom Wheel is just so beastly. So he has Warp Lightning, which is going to be good against tightly packed skinks, for example. Decent against Saurus, but very good against skinks and those chaffy units. He does also have the Brass Orb, which is the new Vortex ability. So for anyone who hasn't seen this, it's an instant vortex. So that's one of the big things about banishment and these other vortexes is oftentimes you can see a purple sun coming, right? You can see a banishment coming. You can avoid it. But with the Brass Orb, you can't. Instant, it does some pretty good damage and definitely is very, very solid. He's got unlimited power, the Palpatine ability for Winds of Magic, and he does also have the Storm Demon, which is like Hand of the Gods from Krokgar. For his missile pressure, he does have the Jezzail, so I think he has 2 groups of them, including the Natty Boobot Sharpshooters, my favorite of all the Skaven RORs, and he does also have the Rattling Gunners here in the back, and Plague Priest with some Rat Ogres. Rat Ogres are going to be super essential at shutting down the Crocscore pressure. So let's get the show on the road. So right now I'm going to be flying the Pahawks of Sentinels over, getting some decent missile pressure here on the Rat Ogres, and the main line's going to be getting engaged. So I do drop the shield of the old ones right here because he was trying to snipe Croak, and I was like, let's get that sweet 44% ward save, and maybe it'll let him survive and get a little bit closer, and so far it's been paying for itself. I think it's a pretty good usage of it right there. 10 and 1's going to be pushing forward. The Skinks are pushing in as well, but they aren't the unshielded Skinks, and the Rattling Gunners are going to be teeing off on the Skinks, mowing these guys down. This is the true Last Samurai, and just think of that. Now we can actually get a Last Samurai gameplay with the Rattling Gunners. Beautiful stuff. So they're able to get some really good damage damage there into the red crested skinks. But the Croxagores, they got their spanking paddles out. These boys are ready, and things are going to start hurting pretty bad. So Croak is going to be moving forward right here. Croxagores are going to be piling in the front, and we do have our first fighting here. So the red crested skinks are going to be clubbing these Skaven slaves. Already up to 19 kills, which is pretty solid. The Rattling Gunners shooting up in the skies and just mowing down my Pawhawks' sentinels. So beautiful play from Dob. So I do respond with the Deliverance of Itza, but I did use the weakest one. I just kind of wanted to see, but I think the issue with it being is that these Rattling Gunners are a little bit spread out, right? They have like a loose formation. So had I used it against a tight formation, I think that's where it really shines, because Croak just didn't do that much damage. It definitely was not worth the Winds of Magic. So Manticore has been summoned, Croxagores have been pushed in. They're just going to be spanking the front line a little bit. It looks like Dob does also playing Vulcan Tail Slashers. And I did use another one right there with Lord Croak to just mulch those Skaven, so that was actually pretty good. I was able to get some damage, and we're going to be dropping another one here in just a minute. I believe I was doing it over here, but Dob was able to dodge that, unfortunately, and it's probably going to hit my own troops. Granted, it doesn't hurt Lizardmen troops, so far Croak hasn't been doing too hot, but I do get a Manticore here in the back who's going to be pressuring pretty efficiently, and the Croxagores are just stomping the couch of the front line, and Croak is so cool. Now, Croak is really powerful. I just don't know if I'm using him correctly against the Skaven. I've been like targeting loose formations. I probably should just be nuking the very tightly packed infantry. Now, if we look at the battle overall, the Croxagores are doing very good. I do have my Chameleons out in the flanks doing some solid work, and 10 and 1 was able to do some okay work, just dealing with some chaff and just getting around, but now these Pterodon Riders, who did take a pounding from those Rattling Gunners, were able to get in there and cause some serious disruption, and the Sentinels actually have pretty good combat stats. 32, 31, 65, not bad at all, and the Croxagores are going to be flooding back here. So just trying to overload the Skaven formation, the cohorts of Sotek and other skinks doing very well for themselves, and suddenly Ikit Claw's in a little bit of a dangerous situation. Granted, Dob plays, he's doing a very good job with Ikit Claw chasing down the Croak. So the Croak is croaking, most likely going to be croaking here. He's dead, and he'll be dying again, I'm sure. But yeah, I was able to get a couple decent spells. As far as kills, he does have 55, which I suppose isn't bad. Right here, we're going to be dropping, I think, another Vortex spell with, no, that's actually Warp Lightning going down, so he was able to get some roasting here on the red crested skinks. But the Croxagore is really causing a lot of problems. Dob is able to use the Rat Ogres to kind of pin them down a little bit. Rat Ogres have a very good matchup versus Croxagores. They do have better combat stats, 34, 26, and 66 compared to 26, 26, 75. So a little bit more weapon strength than Croxagores, but the Rat Ogres, I think, are actually poisoned, so yeah, I think the weapon strength's a little bit higher. But the Sentinels are doing a pretty good job, and it's very important when you're playing against Skaven to chase off all these new gun units. It's pretty easy to break them. I mean, you have a lot of tools for that, but you really need to make sure to just spank these rats, because they were just last samurai my troops in the truest sense of the word. He does also have the Natty Bubo sharpshooters back here, and these guys are just putting in a ton of work. I actually think they're trying to snipe Croak, who's still alive somehow. Croak is sitting here, he's standing firm, he's thick, 99 HP, and it looks like he's going to be going down in just a very unceremonious death right there, and he's just like, yeah, I'll be back. Just ascending to the heavens. We have the Jesus allegory. We have Moses over here. It's just beautiful stuff. So he's going to be ascending to the heavens right there. 10 and 1 is going to be going in. Tiny Weenie or Teeny Weenie or whatever he was actually called. I think his original name was actually Tahini Weenie or something like that. I don't know, something funny. But anyways, all of the Lizardmen characters were just like Haggard plays on words. But 10 and 1's able to get in here. He's going to be fighting the Plague Furnace. He does get punted back, which is a little bit unfortunate. And the Skaven Slingers are doing some decent work, but I am a little bit ahead on the balance of power. The Croxagores and company have done a beautiful job just spanking up this back line, going after Natty Boo with sharpshooters. I really need to get rid of these guys because they were just doing work on me. They were just punishing that Croak. So the Warplock Giselle is over here, also a little bit beat up, but I should be able to kind of flow over there and get rid of them. Hopefully, I mean, the Croxagores are kind of quick. They have 46 speed, and it looks like these Skinks are also doing a very good job cleaning up the flanks. And Ikit Claw is going to be in mortal combat with Croxagores. Now, his new build has some really good AP value, so he's going to be able to do some work, but with this many Croxagores and their spanking paddles, it's going to be pretty tough for those guys to get back. So there's a Plague Monk summon over here fighting the cohorts of Sotek. There's only one of these brave skinks left. Look at this true hero. Just going out, just doing it, and getting decapitated by the Plague Monk. Glorious, glorious end for that guy. Now if we look around the battlefield, there's going to be a Warp Lightning going down. Looks like a little bit of a swing and a miss on those guys, but really just trying to get Ikit Claw. Bounce power is a little bit my favorite, but he does still have Ikit Claw, who of course is very mobile, can stick and move, and if he's able to kind of get rid of the Croxagores, he could be in okay shape. He has some Night Runners, and it looks like they're pretty low on ammunition. They're going to be in mortal combat versus these Chameleons. Over here on the far side, we do of course have more Red Crested Skinks. Probably have a lot of kills, I would imagine. 170 on these bad boys. Yes, it's against Skaven, it's against Chaff, and pretty much an entire army of slaves, but nonetheless, they've done pretty well. In the meantime, Dob Plays was able to isolate some Croxagores. So these guys did get caught out, and he does have the Clan Vulcan Tail Slashers, or Tail Slashers, yeah, Slashers. But they have okay stats, 29, 31, and I think their weapon strength is a little bit false because they're poisoned right now, but nonetheless, they I think have a fire resist or something. I don't know if they're the best ROR, but it does give you a little bit more sustainability for not like a huge cost increase. But they're going to be fighting the Crocsgores back here. It's a bit of a tough situation. You can see here that I do have some reinforcements coming in, but nonetheless, it's going to be a dicey one. Over here we do have Icket Claw, who's going to be fighting against the Crocsgores, and he's wearing them down. They're getting relatively low. Warp Lightning able to do some really good damage there. I actually didn't think of the application of it against big targets. Arcane Conduit getting popped from 10 and 1 here. He's running in with his tablet, trying to I guess it's like his mini Book of Grudges. I actually wonder what's written on there. I wonder if you could like read it if you look close. It's probably in some like archaic language or something that we wouldn't be able to cipher here. Unfortunately, 10 and 1 is going to be running in with the Crocsgores. I believe I was trying to chase off these Rat Ogres. They're pretty low. I think if we can just get close. I mean, these guys do cause fear, but so do Rat Ogres, so I guess that's not really going to matter. But it looks like Dob might be able to slip away. The bounce power is pretty heavily in my favor, though. In the backline, the Crocsgores and company are able to beat down those Rat Ogres and company. And company, I need to stop saying that. They're able to beat down those Rat Ogres and in their filthy Skaven nest back here. And from here, the Red Crested Skinks should be able to probably chase these guys off the battlefield, which would be pretty nice. So it's really just going to be 10 and 1 and the Crocsgores versus Icket Claw. Granted, Icket Claw does have a pretty big force, but with the Manticore Summon coming in, that's pretty much just going to break their back. So well played to Dob Plays. If you guys haven't, make sure to check out his channel. There will absolutely be a link in the comment section below. It was a fun game. For sure, there's a couple things I think I would change in retrospect. 10 and 1's pretty good. I think that he's a solid pick. The Manticore Summon is very good against Skaven. It can bully a lot of different threats. The Manticore Summon was able to get to the back line and really caused a ton of pressure on top of the Rattling Gunners and those other troops, so I was quite happy with that. Croak was decent. I don't know. He can be used to pretty good effect. If they go with Storm Vermin, that's where you really see him shine. If they decide to go Elite at all, I think that's what's really good. He does also give you an Arcane Conduit, which is quite nice, and a Greater Shield of the old ones, I think. So he does bring utility aside from just being, able to drop the Deliverance of Itza, but it wasn't too good against the loose targets. I thought it might be able to just like nuke the Rattling Guns and nuke the Jezzails, and that's why I brought him. He's also a bit of a distracting current effects. I mean, he has a lot of HP and it's pretty relatively tanky, I suppose. But a couple things I would change. I would probably change the Red Crested Skinks and just mix in some cohorts. I think the cohorts are super useful against Rat Ogres and just pressuring. And having shields is going to be very useful against Skaven Slingers and troops like that. I did like the Crocsgores. I'll probably keep them. They're pretty damn good. The Chameleons, I bring the Chameleons because if they do go with like Hell Pit Abominations and Rat Ogres, you're really going to need that, because what else in my army could really bring down Hell Pit Abominations? So I think you do need the Chameleon Skinks. Granted, if you do just get a bigger Air Force and get a bunch of like Pterodon Riders or the Colossadon Hunters, you could do some work, but Colossadon Hunters can be taken out pretty badly. But what's really cool about this DLC in general is that there's so many different options. You can now bring some really crazy builds with the Lizardmen using I believe it's called the Legion of, we'll take a look after this game and I'll show you, but it's the ROR of the Saurus Spears that gives missile resist to all nearby troops. So you can really mix it up against this Skaven, which is quite cool. And for Dob's build, I thought it was great. It was a close game for sure. A couple things I would probably mix in would be, the Rattling Gunners did okay. I found that they're a little bit tough to use because the Skaven front line does falter. I think that we might see some builds evolve where Rattling Gunners are used in tandem with like Storm Vermin for a more elite front line so they can actually stay and shoot longer. The Jezzails are a little bit safer because they're range, and they generally get their value because they have such good range, whereas the Rattling Gunners have like a very small window to get their value. And it didn't feel like they did that game, but it was a good build. I really think that maybe cutting the Clan Vulcan Tail Slashers and mixing in like somehow just mix in like a Doom player, like 1 or 2 Doom players is really good against Lizardmen. It actually is like just mows down their infantry. I think just one. Crocsgores are pretty good against them, but nonetheless, it's very good for pressuring and just getting around. And if they go Saurus or anything like that, it's going to be good. But it was a great build from Dob, honestly. I really liked it quite a bit, and it was a close game. It was down to the wire. So let's go ahead and take a look at the units I wanted to show you guys. Let's go back here. I have a lot of games. I have so many games ready to show you guys. So I think with these guys, these are the Legion of Shakwa, and if you look here, you can see they have the Shield of Shakwa, which activates for 25 seconds, which is pretty long, right? That's almost enough time to get like really close to your opponent. It's going to give you a 44% missile resist overall, which is really good against Skaven. So you could like bring these guys and stack them on top of something you want to protect, like Croak. And a lot of times the opponent's going to be like, oh, it's Croak, he's easy, he's a big target, let's snipe him. But Croak, I think, already has 15%, is it? 40% missile. So you stack that, then you put these guys on him, it's going to put him up to a pretty insane threshold. So what I would probably cut, I don't know. Let's actually like kind of rethink this army a little bit. So if we go here, I think 10 and 1's pretty solid. I mean, the Slans are all really good too. Putting them on the Ripper Dactyl is a little bit scary up in the skies, but again, you can juke a little bit, so it might be better. Let's actually put him on the Ripper Dactyl. It's just going to take a little bit more micro, but if you zigzag, he's going to be able to dodge like Jezzails and things like that. So we'll go with the Manticore Summon, and this is just like another Croak build. So I think Croak is pretty good because it does keep your opponent honest in terms of like having to deal with, or in terms of Storm Vermin and more elite troops like that. And maybe I just need to use like the bigger casts, like these ones. Okay, so it has a really small explosion area, I think. It says large, but this one says huge. So maybe I should just be using the Deliverance of Itza 3. Maybe if I just use that on like the Jezzails, it would have like one-shotted them, right? Because it pretty much one-shot Storm Vermin, so maybe it has a bigger explosion. It would have been better against a loose formation. Who knows? So from here, Coder Sotek's pretty good. I'd probably get like 2 of these guys. Mix in a couple of the standard guys, and do we want to? How many of them do we want to get? Do we just want to go with cohorts? Cohorts are just so good, and they only cost 400. So we'll get 4 cohorts. Oh man, that army funds is just out of control right now. Let's go ahead and set it back down to large. Great. So that's going to be a decent little front line against Skaven. I don't think you need too much more. I actually think the Pterodon Riders have a bit of a niche here. Like the rock drops and like the fact that they can just dive on top of the guns is pretty good, especially if you bring them in a little bit delayed. So maybe just get like 3 of those guys, and it also gives you missile pressure against like big targets like Rat Ogres. You could just sit above them and do some work. Get a couple Chameleons as well, and we can get the Legion. Legion's going to be good. It gives you more pressure against Ogres and Hell Pit builds as well. So you get like some true dedicated anti-large to kind of sit in the pocket. So now you have a pretty scary little Air Force with 10 and 1, plus these 3 Pterodon Riders. If they go with Warp Lightning, you can drop rocks on top of them and just get around the flanks and cause some pressure. It's a little bit scary. I mean, they could still get gunned down pretty bad. We could go with the Legion, or not the Legion, but the cohort here. But some of the big monsters I think are too risky. I think you need to go pretty narrow here. I mean, I really want to get Ripperdactyls. The Colossodon Hunters are insane. I actually had a really, really good game versus King of the Dead with those that they did a ton of work in. So from here, let's see if there's any abilities we can cut. I just need a little bit more money. I mean, I could cut Wildheart because I'm not going to be casting too much with him and get 2 more of these. So I think this would be a little bit of a tighter build for sure. Anyways, very well played to Dog Plays. Make sure to check out his channel, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care.